Hello everyone, happy Tuesday, happy So What Day. I hope that you're having a creative start to your week. And if not, I hope that this can kind of jumpstart your creativity, get you into the sewing room, get you creating something. I won't say a super quick project today, but it's definitely an easy project. So you can tackle it in an afternoon, I'm going to say. It's a great project to personalize, as with so many of our sewing projects. I created mine with like a back to school vibe, but we're going to talk about so many different ways you can make this your own, whether it's for a gift or for yourself. So we are going to be creating an applique t-shirt today with a little bit of hand embroidery thrown in as well for some texture and some interest. And you can see how those two kind of crafting mediums, I'll call them, come together to make a really unique garment. All right. So before we get started with that though, today is the day, August 12th, that our straps, handles, and key fobs embroidery session is activated, ready for viewing, ready for taking at your leisure over at sewingonline.sulky.com. I've been talking about this one for a few weeks now. I'm just so excited for you all to dive in and start making these beautiful straps. And I did get a question over the weekend. Someone said, hey, do we have to embroider the straps? To which I say, of course you do. No, you do not. There are tons of lessons for how to embroider on webbing, which is really great whether you're making a strap, a pair of handles, a key fob, or something like a dog collar or a leash. I see people personalizing dog collars all the time. It's so cute to put a little name on there, or maybe even your favorite team name, something like this, on the dog collar, or even, hey, a cat collar. I don't know. We'll just say pet collar. How about that? But you can also make adjustable leashes and things like that using the techniques that we present for these straps. So first up, you will get all of the videos, written tutorials, all the designs that are featured for the machine embroidery. Here are what all of the designs look like. So once you register for this session, you get all 6 of these designs courtesy of embroiderydesigns.com. You can see they're in different widths and a little bit different styles too. So we have these this wave border design, which is a continuous border design. And I take you through all of the steps for how to match these designs end for end to have a continuous border or a continuous design along the entire length of your strap. But you could also use, let's say, the flowers in the middle or even the diamonds that are shown there and just pepper them on the strap. They don't have to be continuous either. So at any rate, there's so much information packed into this course, and you can refer to it again and again and again. So let's say the holidays roll around and you want to make everybody on your list a key fob that's personalized with embroidery. You can head right to the key fob lesson, and whether you're making it out of cork, faux leather, webbing, or even canvas, you can get all of the embroidery tutorials and then all of the construction tutorials as well. So if you are not adding embroidery, it's also a very useful session for all of the instructions for different straps. So as I mentioned, there are different widths of designs, and those are for the different widths of straps. So you can see in this image here, we have a 2-inch wide strap, we have a 1-inch wide strap, a 1/2-inch wide strap, and then you can also play around with different widths if you're not using webbing. You can obviously sew your straps however wide or narrow you want if you are working with a woven fabric like canvas or cork or faux leather. So all of those instructions are included with this session. Tons of videos, as I mentioned, All 6 of these designs you will get with purchase of the session. These designs are valued at over $22, and the session is only $19.99. So you do the math on that one. We also have several kits available for the session, depending on the strap type and style that you want to create, as well as the different hardware and color variations. So Kit A makes the 1-inch wide strap, Kit B makes a 2-inch wide strap, and there's some different hardware included in Kit B, so you can choose from different adjustable straps, different strap connector styles, and you'll have a little extra left over to create something else or another strap or key fob, etc., depending on the one that you choose for your main strap out of that kit. Kit C makes the 1/2-inch wide, I want to say. Actually, let's start over. Kit A is 1.5-inch wide. Kit B is 2-inch wide. Kit C is 1-inch wide. So many numbers. Bear with me. And then Kit D is for that key fob. It's a beautiful burgundy cork fabric with an antique key fob hardware piece, as well as matching burgundy polydeco thread and a pack of Tear Easy stabilizer. Kit D is under $15 for that whole kit. And then the other kits kind of vary in price, but nothing is over $40. So this is very accessible. You can grab up multiple kits and make multiple straps or pair of handles. You get the idea. So lots of options within this session. I had a hard time trying to figure out how to present it because there were so many different ways we could look at this content, you know? First off, I really just wanted to explore how to embroider webbing with ease so that it wasn't too complicated, so that anyone with any kind of machine or accessories could do this project. So you will find these videos are really geared toward a confident beginner, but of course, more advanced intermediate machine embroiderers and sewers could tackle this as well. But what I wanted to do was really go down to an entry-level machine an entry-level embroidery machine using no software at all and see if I could make it happen. Now, of course, if you have a whole, sewing space full of placement stickers and templates and software and all the bells and whistles, you have a little bit of an advantage there because you have all of these other things you can pull into the equation. I also talk about using those types of things throughout the session too. So if you do have those things, don't worry. I also mention those. But for the majority of the videos, I wanted to show that you don't necessarily need all of that to make something beautiful like these straps. So even if you think, oh man, I don't have software, or I could never match these designs end for end and get them perfect, that's what this session is for, is to show you how and to give you some tips and techniques for making that happen without that anxiety that we get when we're hovering over our embroidery hoop going, please embroider properly, please embroider properly, please tell me that I placed this design correctly. So as with so many things, especially with machine embroidery, we spend a lot of money on these materials, these supplies. And then when we go to embroider it, we really want to make sure it's going to work out. So that's why we come to you from Sulky with all this education so that we can make the mistakes on our end. We can figure out all the troubleshooting steps, and then we can pass that on to you so that you don't have to go through all of that discovery process. You can just get to the end result and have something spectacular. So that's the whole idea. All right, let's see. Colleen says, where can we get additional key fob hardware? Hey, Colleen. Love it and would like to make more for my grandsons. Perfect. So the key fob hardware, that specific piece that comes with the key fob kit. I'll just show you that. That's kit D. So it's this little ring. Where is mine? I have a lot of projects in the queue, so bear with me. It has a little opening at the bottom. Hold on just 1 minute. I have another one here. This is a different hardware finish. This is the gunmetal finish, but in the kit, you'll get the antique finish because I think it just goes with that burgundy so nicely, especially if you want to substitute like a poly sparkle thread for the embroidery. Really brings out the finish of that hardware and looks really cool. But at any rate, this is a gunmetal finish. It's kind of like a dark gray, metal. At any rate, the key fob hardware is this key ring. And then see how this is open here? It's perfectly sized for a 1-inch piece of fabric. So you would take your cork fabric or faux leather or even your canvas. Your finished edges need to come in at 1 inch so that you can insert the raw edges. After you fold your key fob in half, you can insert your raw edges into this slot. And then it comes with 2 little screws. So you'll put a little dab of craft glue or even super glue works fine on the end of your fabrics. Stick them in here until they, abut with that upper edge. And then you just screw them in with your little screws that come with the hardware. And you need like a little eyeglasses type screwdriver, one of those mini ones, unless you have a screwdriver that comes with all of those. So easy, and it looks so high end when you have this piece of hardware. In the videos in the session though, I also show you how to use a D-ring, O-ring, rectangle ring, something like that, and make your own connector piece. So you can use a salvaged key fob, or excuse me, a salvaged key ring, or as I mentioned, an O-ring like this, or a rectangle ring, or even like a swivel clip like this to create your key fob. So instructions for that are in the course as well. But if you want this specific hardware and you're looking to make bulk of these, you can grab up this hardware piece at sallytomato.com. They have all kinds of finishes. They have the gunmetal, the antique, gold, nickel, and then they have a rose gold like this as well as one of their finishes. So you can make some really, really pretty holiday gifts, birthday gifts. A key fob is so great because, as you mentioned, you can make it for your grandsons. It's non-gender specific, you know what I mean? And you can also personalize your key fob with an embroidered name. You don't have to use the floral design or the diamond design or something like that, but you certainly could. So the kits are really affordable, as I mentioned, but you can go grab up extra hardware pieces straight from sallytomato.com. That is where we sourced all of the hardware in these kits because I really think their hardware it's just a step above, I have purchased things like swivel clips, D-rings, buckle slides, all that from places like Hobby Lobby, Amazon, formerly known as Joanne, may she rest in peace, things like that. And the Sally Tomato hardware, I think, is just above and beyond. It looks way more designery. The finish is nicer. It has even like a heavier weight to it. So it just feels a little bit more high end, and you're really not paying that much more for it. So I think it's completely worth it. Plus you get these beautiful different finishes. So you can get that rose gold and pair it with a really pretty red or pink, or even rose gold I think looks really good with beige and the light browns. It's just a really pretty combination. So there you go. Someone is saying my sound is going in and out. I apologize for that. It might be because I keep touching the microphone. I'm trying to test something, so I'll leave it alone and hopefully everything comes back to normal here. All right. Linda says, I got 2 kits and can hardly wait. Love that. All right. Ooh, everyone's talking about Georgia peaches. We also have Colorado peaches. Can I tell you? It's Palisade peach season here in Colorado, and there is nothing like a Palisade peach. And I've had some Georgia peaches. Just saying. But anyway, eat all the peaches. Love it. Hello. Lots of people saying hi. Hi, Angela. Hi, Betsy. Good to see you. Beautiful designs for the straps. Yes. Anita, are you in the session? Let me know. I hope that you are. Okay. And yes, we did have some, someone saying, okay, so now we don't have any sound at all. Let me know if you can hear me because my audio is showing that there is sound. So if there isn't, check your personal device. Let me just check something here. Okay. All right. Thank you. Some people are saying no problem with the sound. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just keep on keeping on. Perfect. Thanks for letting me know, everyone. Okay, where was I? We talked about the straps. All the videos are now available. You should have gotten an email this morning if you were registered for the straps, handles, and key fob session. You should have gotten an email this morning saying, hey, today is the day. The videos are ready for viewing, and you can hop on over at any time. It's not a live event. It's all on demand. It's all, self-guided by you, and it never expires. So be sure to go on in there, grab up your design files, start watching the videos when you have pockets of time, and I can't wait to hear what you think. Be sure to leave me feedback either on the lesson pages because there's a Q&A on every single lesson page. So if you get stuck on a particular spot, you can ask a question right there, and then the Sulky support team gets pinged every time there's a question posted on those lesson pages, so we can reach out to you directly right there. And then we know where you're getting stuck because it comes from that page. So it's really great way, I think, to take an online course. And again, it never expires. A lot of other companies only allow you access for a couple months, maybe even a couple weeks, and then it disappears. But once you purchase this at sewingonline.sulky.com, it's in your personal library and it's there for you whenever. All right. So another thing I wanted to talk about is our travels with craft tours. So our Germany, Austria Christmas market tour closed last week. So that one is all ready to go for December. The tours close about 3 to 4 months before our departure date. And that is just to make sure that everyone has their passport in order. And all of our little itinerary booklets can be printed and shipped out. And so that everyone has time to prepare and all of those good things. So that tour has closed. If you are interested in a future Christmas market tour with Sulky and Craft Tours, stay tuned because we are going to have some new tours pop up on the Craft Tours website in the coming weeks. So of course, I will let you all know of our new locations coming up in 2026, 2027, and beyond so that you have ample time to prepare. You can get on those payment plans and you can make these tours a reality. Our next tour is Greece, and this is going to happen in 2026. It's the end of May, early June 2026 Greece tour with Sulky. I link directly to it in the description of today's post, along with all the other links of everything I'm going to talk about. So if you're not seeing all of those links, click on that little see more button, or it could just say more if you're watching on YouTube. Click on that button. You'll see the whole description pop out, and you'll find that link to our Greece tour, and you can head on over and check out the itinerary, check out the pricing. We're going to go to Mykonos, Santorini, Athens. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And funny enough, you know how they're listening, so yesterday I was scrolling through social media, as you do, and this image popped up and it said, do you know that going to Greece in the summertime will extend your life by 10 years? 10 years, not 10 minutes, 10 years. Now, I know this is a really great slogan or phrase, probably by, Greek tourism or something, but I'm here for it. So we'll see what happens. And I hope you will join me in Greece in 2026. Okay, let's see. Okay, it looks like the sound problem has worked itself out. So thank you all for letting me know. Audio is good. Ooh, Alexis says, I love all peaches too. Maybe we need a peach project. We will get the creative juices flowing on that. Speaking of peach, I do want to talk about the quilt hanging behind me. It's a peachy orange, so that kind of ties into what you're talking about there. And then it also has this vintagey green floral print. So this is one of my favorite quilts that I've made because first off, it's super easy. Secondly, it has this vintage vibe to it with, these colors that we used to have in our kitchens in the 70s. The olive green stove and refrigerator combo, right? Come on. I think maybe I had an outfit made out of these two colors when I was little. We might have to look for that one. But anyway, so it has these vintage vibes to it, this nice chevron pattern. And then the binding, which you can't really see, is like a peachy orange with white micro polka dots on it. So cute. The other thing I love about this quilt is it was quilted on a long arm machine. You can almost see the quilting, and it's far away from me on the back wall. The reason you can see it so well is because the quilting was done with a 12-weight Filane thread. Our 12-weight thread is our thickest thread variety, and it is what we really recommend for handwork projects, big stitch quilting, and we also use it for our 3D fuzzy faux fur effect embroidery. So this 12-weight thread, since it has this fuzzy texture to it, it really lends itself well to these vintage type quilts and quilty projects when you use it for quilting. So this was my experiment to see if that thread would work in a long arm machine. So I had this done by a professional long armer way back before we launched this thread to the public to see how it would perform. And it came out absolutely beautifully. The thread on the wrong side is a 60-weight bobbin thread, so a much, much lighter thread on the back of the quilt. And that is in the peachy orange color, so it blends into the quilt backing, and then the Filane thread kind of pops off of the quilt surface, and it gives it that like yarny texture, like a vintage quilt, how we used to tie our quilts with a little tuft of yarn every so often. I have a couple of those quilts for my grandmother still. Love it. So anyways, absolutely love the look of this quilt, but I wanted to mention it because a lot of times people are asking me what's hanging behind me, so I didn't want to let this one go. This is called the Chevron Quilt Tutorial, and I went to look for it on our blog because that's where I found it in the first place, and for some reason, all of the links are broken and I cannot restore it. Tragic. So I'm going to have to remake this one so I can post it. But here's how simple it is. Every single block, so this is one block, right? Every single block is a half square triangle. So all you do is create a bunch of half square triangles using two different fabrics. and then you arrange them in this chevron pattern. And then you will sew together each row after you lay it all out. It's very helpful to lay it out on a large floor or maybe your dining room table, depending on how wide it is. If you happen to have a pool table, put your pool table cover on there and lay out all of your quilt blocks. Just an idea. Of course, if you have one of those great adjustable cutting tables, you're all set. But it does help to lay it all out so you can make sure that your chevron looks perfect for each row. Because ask me how annoying it is when you get everything laid out and you have a little accident on one of your chevrons and it's not going the right way with the right pattern. So all it is a bunch of half square triangles arranged in this chevron pattern. That's the whole quilt top. The back is one piece. The binding's super easy. And then you quilt it in the design of your choice. This quilting, a little bit hard to see, but it is big, vintagey, like bubbly flowers. This whole thing reminds me of 1976. I don't know. I could have the date wrong, but that's what I'm going with. So I'll call it the 1976 chevron quilt or something like that. Okay, let's see. Kathy says, I see the half square triangles. Neat design. Yes. Perfect. Okay. So let's get started with today's tutorial. It is our back to school class of t-shirt. All right. So this cute little t-shirt is really great for something to wear on the first day of school. I don't know about you, but when my kids were going in elementary school, they had this cute little red carpet ceremony before the first day of school. And all of the classes would line up with their teacher and they would head into the school, kindergartners first, and then 6th grade last, or 5th grade, whatever. And they would all file into school on this red carpet with the parents cheering them on. And it's just the cutest thing to do year after year. And so when I thought about doing this t-shirt design, I thought, oh my gosh, how cute would it be for your little kindergartner or even 3rd grader or what have you to be walking into school wearing this cute t-shirt. You could even have them twinning with their friend group and everybody gets one of these shirts in their class year. I also thought this would be so cute on a onesie. I know your small little babies are not headed off to school right now, but this makes a really cute baby shower gift, especially if you have a teacher who's having a baby. I don't know, just so cute. Love it. Can you imagine? Class of 2042. Yes, infants born this year will be the class of 2042. And that's high school graduating class. So crazy to even think about 2042. So anyways, this looks really great on a onesie as well. But I like kind of offsetting the applique a little bit, offsetting it from center, and then overlaying that hand embroidery a little bit over the top of the applique to add to that texture and just give it a little bit of something extra. This would also, again, be very cute for a teacher. Instead of class of 2032, it could say maybe, headed for and then 3rd grade or something like that. Or 3rd grade team, something like that. So very, very cute. And I love when the teachers come together too and they're wearing the same shirts based on, the grade that they're teaching. It really just kind of gives that sort of sense of belonging and togetherness for the first day of school when there's so many kids that have, anxiety about it and things like that. So here's how quickly it comes together. First off, we are going to do our number or year applique. But again, this could say so many different things. You don't have to have a year here. You can personalize this however you choose. So what I did was I printed out big block numbers, and I did one for 2034, 2032, 2042, okay? So I printed this out on regular printer paper, and then I flipped it over, and I used my light box to trace over the mirror image of that, because I want to transfer the mirror image to the paper side of my Fusible web. All right, so you might have a word processing program where you can just select all of your numbers and then mirror image them and print them out that way. And then you wouldn't need to flip it over and trace the mirror image of your numbers. Does that make sense? All right, so just keep that in mind. There's many different ways you can get the mirror image of your numbers. So then we're going to transfer that to our Fusible web paper backing, okay? And I have my Fusible web already fused to my fabric wrong side. So sometimes I will transfer my design onto the Fusible web before fusing it to my applique fabric wrong side. But in this case, I fused it first and then I transferred the design. Really, the reason is because I was using this relatively new, nice, petite Oliso iron, and I didn't want to get my pencil or marker or whatever on my iron sole plate. And since I was using pencil, I just thought to err on the side of caution, I would fuse the Perfect Applique Fusible web to my fabric and then transfer the mirror image of my numbers. And if you do happen to have a light box, it makes really quick work of this. If you don't, you can tape your Fusible web to, let's say, like your screen door on a sunny day with your design behind it, and you can transfer it that way. But I happen to have the coolest light box ever. Every time I show it here on So What, it is like everyone's favorite thing. So this is how easy it is to get it out. This is it on and off with just a really light touch of your finger, power button. You can see it has measurements along two sides. You can also purchase a self-healing cutting mat that is sized perfectly for this, and you can put it over the top and you can cut over the top half square triangles, quilt blocks, things like this, or even your appliques if you can use your rotary cutter for those. And the self-healing cutting mat fits it perfectly and goes right over the top, and it's clear. So once you turn your light box on, you can see through your cutting mat as well. So this is awesome. I have it right next to me under my sewing table because that's how often I use it. And I really was a little bit skeptical at first, like, how often am I going to use this thing? Do I need an extra accessory in my sewing room? And I use it all the time. And actually, my kids kind of fight over it sometimes because they like to use it for art projects as well. It's so thin. It's called the Wafer Thin Light Box. It's so lightweight. Do you remember back in the day when we were using a light box? They were these huge contraptions that needed their whole, they needed their own table to support them. You could never just lift them and move them easily. This is like holding on to an iPad. That's how lightweight it is. They come in two different sizes. There's a small and a large, and we have them all at sulky.com, as well as the cutting mats are also available too. So I just want to mention that because every time I do an applique project, it seems like I use that tool. and then some. I use it for a lot of other things as well. Okay, so once we have our mirror image design transferred to the paper backing of our Sulky Perfect Applique Fusible web, and that has been fused to our fabric wrong side, now we can cut out our applique. All right, so again, numbers, a name, maybe it says 3rd grade, something like this. You get the idea. What else did I want to tell you about that daylight wafer light box? I don't know. I lost it. My mind's in too many different places. Okay, let's see. Penny is saying, would this work on a Brother scan and cut? So I don't have a Brother scan and cut. We have done an event that showcases the scan and cut. But I imagine if you are able to cut out numbers or words or phrases or whatever you want to feature as your applique, if you're able to do that on your scan and cut, then you'd be able to do it here as well. And I believe that it will cut the fabric with the fusible web already attached to it too. So you're really just doing everything in one fell swoop. But that would have to be a question for Brother. I'm sure you could reach out to their customer service team and ask them what kind of numbers or something like that they have available. It seems to me they would have block letters and things like that that you could download that would be compatible with your scan and cut. Okay. Ooh, lots of people saying they have that light box. Love that. Okay. Yep, and please ignore the spam comments and I'll try to take care of those. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, once we have our applique, I also needed to mention that our giveaway today for one lucky viewer who is watching So What, commenting, sharing out the post, or giving me those great emojis, some kind of engagement with the post is all you need to do to be automatically eligible to win today's gift from Sulky, which is a 1-yard pack of Sulky Perfect Applique Fusible web, valued at $8.99. All right, so that's today's gift from Sulky. May the odds be ever in your favor. My kids are watching the Hunger Games right now. They've read the books. They're reading the movie. They've read the books, they're watching the movies now, so I have that on the brain. Okay, let's see. What's next? Okay, so we need to now remove the paper backing from our fusible web, which will reveal our tacky surface on the wrong side of our fabric. I will say this particular fusible web is so very lightweight, which is why I love it on garments, because it does not change the hand of your garment too much. And in this case, we're adding a woven fabric to a knit fabric, right? So what's going to happen when we fuse that applique down is that part of our shirt is no longer going to stretch around to fit our body. So you do want to make sure you're not placing like a big piece of applique fabric in certain areas of your shirt that you still want to fit you nicely and show off your curves, or not, as the case may be. So keep that in mind. That's why I like to do these block letters too, space them a little far apart so that your shirt still has room to groove around those applique pieces. But the fusible web is so lightweight that sometimes I have to really look at the wrong side and feel it to make sure that the fusible web has, in fact, adhered to the fabric. So keep that in mind. But the paper should come off really nice and cleanly. And this is a raw edge applique look that I did. But after you have placed your fabrics and, made sure to measure across your shirt, make sure everything lines up nicely. The numbers are spaced apart where you want them. You can do raw edge applique, or you can choose a decorative stitch that hides that raw edge a little bit more. But that fusible web also helps your raw edges from fraying too much. Now, I like that look of raw edge applique. You can see I have washed this shirt now, and I do have a little bit of fraying edges. But I kind of like that look, and that's what I was going for. If you don't like that look, you can choose a satin stitch, a zigzag stitch, even some of the denser decorative stitches. If you do go with those types of stitches though, I would suggest adding some stabilizer to the back of your t-shirt, whether it is Sulky Tear Easy or even Sulky Soft and Sheer. Not a fusible stabilizer, but a layer of stabilizer behind your t-shirt so that if you are doing a denser stitch, you have some support behind that knit fabric so that the fabric has something to grab onto. Then you can either tear it away after your applique is complete, or if you're using soft and sheer or another cutaway lightweight stabilizer, you can trim it away just beyond your stitching outlines. And that way you have this extra stability, extra thread count behind those stitches. So no matter how many times this t-shirt gets washed, those stitches will still have support. Okay, so before we get to stitching though, we need to place our appliques where we want them. And you'll notice that I put the numbers a little bit off to the right because I wanted my class of hand embroidery to be a little bit more towards the left so that the whole design was centered, not just the numbers. Does that make sense? And I'll show you a little, cheat that I did as well to ensure that I spaced everything how I wanted it. So first up, I took my big clear ruler and I put it down about an inch or two below the armscye seam, the armpit seam. And then I put it across parallel to the hem of the t-shirt so that I could make sure that the bottom of my numbers were all on the same line. That way it just looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye and I make sure that it's lined up, properly. All right. So once you have it where you want it, you can fuse your numbers in place. And again, I'll show you another little placement tip that I used a little bit later on. So after this secondary fuse, because our first fuse is when we fused the perfect applique to the fabric wrong side. Now this is our secondary fuse. You do want to make sure that your iron isn't too hot because we don't want to melt that fusible so much that it's like oozing out of the edges of our applique, which quite frankly, it would take a lot for this particular fusible web to even do that because it's so lightweight, but it has been known to happen with other brands. So I do err on the side of caution, low to medium temp iron, just hot enough to fuse those two layers together. Then we need to stitch the outer edges. So as I mentioned, I did straight stitch applique so that those raw edges would show, but here is where you could do a satin stitch, a different decorative stitch, a stitch of your choice. Consult your decorative stitch menu that you probably hardly ever use and come up with something really fun. You'll notice I used like a star print. It's kind of like a rainbow bright, I'll call it, because, I was an 80s child, but it's kind of like a rainbow bright star and rainbow motif. So you might have a star decorative stitch or something like that that would be adorable on the shirt. Then you just keep going every single number until it is stitched down. And now we're going to add the hand embroidery element. So what I did was I went into my word processing program and I just wrote out class of, and I kind of measured how tall I wanted my font to be. And so I messed around with my font type until I got until I got it sort of large enough. What I did was I brought in those numbers as well, the 2 and the 0, into the word processing program so that I could place my sort of handwriting look font. So I could place it where I want it on the shirt. So underneath where it says class of, you could see the curve of the 2 and the curve of the 0. So that way, when I go to place it on the shirt, it's really easy for me to place my stick and stitch stabilizer, my printable transfer sticker that I created. Really easy for me to place that on the shirt where I want it without having to, move it around a million times, try on the shirt, do all these things. I can just match it up to where I fused my applique. All right, so I found a handwriting font that I liked. I had it in the size that I liked, proportional to the t-shirt. Coincidentally, I used this exact size on the onesie. So on the onesie, the applique looks real big, the hand embroidery looks real big, and then on this size 8-10 kids shirt, it looks a little bit smaller. So just so you know, I didn't resize anything compared to those two t-shirts, or the different styles of shirts rather. So Sulky Stick and Stitch Stabilizer, it is a printable stabilizer that comes in 8.5 by 11 sheets that you can run through your home printer. Here's what the package looks like. You get 12 sheets when you purchase up this pack, and you are probably seeing it everywhere. Hand embroiderers are using it everywhere. People are creating their own design packs using Sulky Stick and Stitch, packaging them up, selling them on Etsy, things like that. It is probably the most viral, crafty product of 2025. I'm just going to go out and say that. All right, so what you do is you take your sheet of stick and stitch. It has a fabric-like side and it has a paper side. The paper is covering the stickiness, the sticky stickerness. So what you do is you put this in your printer, making sure that it's oriented so that you will print on the fabric-like side. Load this into your printer and print your class of design. If you want, you can print your class of 2032 or whatever the number is that you're creating on the page, and then just cut out the class of part, leaving a little bit of the number showing for your placement pointer, placement area. Okay. So once we have this printed out, you're going to cut it out just like a sticker and stick it right side up on the right side of your fabric where desired. All right. I do want to mention too that I always set my printer for the lowest ink setting when I'm using this product, because you don't want to oversaturate the product with ink. What can happen if you do that is the ink can then transfer to your fabric or to other things when you're removing it. And if you put your sticker down onto your t-shirt or whatever you're embroidering, and the ink hasn't dried or fully saturated the product, you will go to start embroidering it and it might transfer to your hand, the ink, or it could, heaven forbid, transfer to your thread. So you really want to make sure, if you don't have the option to print on the lowest, like draft ink setting, sometimes it's called, print it regularly and just let it sit for a bit. Let it fully dry and or saturate into the fabric side of that stabilizer before you go stitching through it. All right. So you're going to cut out your transfer sticker, place it on your shirt, and now we're going to deal with our thread and embroidery. So just like our 12-weight filaine thread is great for handwork, so is our 12-weight cotton thread. This is really what we recommend for handwork applications. One strand of it is equal to 2 strands of your traditional embroidery floss. See how thick that is? So for designs where you would normally use 2 strands of floss, you only have to use 1 strand of this. It makes it so much easier to do your embroidery, less tangles, all of those things. And you don't have to separate strands from a skein, which inevitably ends up in a knot. And I don't know about you, but I just get so frustrated that I cut off the knot and throw it away, and then I've lost all that product. So love it for coverage. Love that it comes on a spool with a snap end, just like all Sulky snap spools. Both ends are snap ends, so they open up. You store the end of your thread in there and snap it shut. So now our thread end is nice and tidy. It's not going to unravel if we want to take this, while we're watching a soccer practice and finish up our t-shirt embroidery, or take it on the plane for a quick handwork project or a not so quick handwork project. You get the idea. So I used 2 strands of this, and I did a chain stitch along the lines of my design. So I like a chain stitch for this because it has those cute little loops in it. Very easy to complete a chain stitch. You bring your needle up from the wrong side, you create a loop, hold the loop with your finger, bring the needle back up through the wrong side inside of that loop to create the chain. And then you just keep going with loops and loops and loops along your entire design. So I was really able to complete this very quickly. And if you make larger loops, you'll have an easier or an even quicker time with the hand embroidery. Just keep in mind that the larger the loop is, the more chance you could have of it snagging on something when it's being worn or washed. So keep that in mind as well. So I used 2 strands of thread for mine for each stitch, and that means it's 4 strands of traditional floss. So again, really great coverage. You can really read it well, and it looks great. Okay, so you just keep on keeping on, and once your embroidery is complete, oh, that's what I wanted to mention too, is it looks like my design is very, very dark. Well, what happened was I printed it on the draft setting, and then I thought that you would not be able to see it in the photos. So I went over it with a permanent marker. Now, that means I'm super saturating it with ink, and I really run the risk of that permanent marker getting somewhere else on my fabric. So professionals only, please, with the permanent marker. Otherwise, use the draft setting. You really only need to be able to see it well enough to follow the lines with your stitching. Okay, so that's why mine looked really, really dark. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so once your embroidery is complete, we're going to go ahead and remove that stick and stitch. Super easy. We're going to take it to the sink, or if you happen to have one of those kitchen sprayers, those are really great for this because I feel like the water pressure is better and it comes out, in a spray. So it's a little bit more like agitation is added to it, but you want to put it under running water. Okay. We don't want to let this sit in a tub of water because again, what can happen is as the stabilizer starts to disintegrate and slough off of the fabric surface, it can move around with the movement of the water, and it can transfer the ink to another part of your t-shirt. Okay, so all this caution with your printer ink because I have done it all. So running water, make sure the water is running off of the project so that when your stabilizer starts to disintegrate, it's running off of the project and not pooling or settling on the top somewhere else. Warmer water is going to get rid of the stabilizer quicker than cold water, but cold water also will work, okay? It'll just take a little bit longer. So you'll see how it starts to just disappear so quickly and easily. This is after just a little bit in the sink, and it's completely gone. All right. So then you want to let your shirt just dry flat on a really absorbent towel. It's important that you don't wring your shirt out after you've removed that stabilizer. What can happen if you do that is a number of things. It can distort your design a little bit, but also if you happen to have little stabilizer bits still inside of your embroidery stitches that didn't rinse away entirely, if you go to wring that out, they can get kind of matted in the thread, and it becomes really difficult to get rid of those after the fact. I also like to just throw my t-shirt or item in a rinse and spin cycle in my washing machine, and that really gets all the stabilizer out or anything else that is remaining. And then you can go ahead and just dry it flat after it spins out. So that's really the method that I prefer, but it does use a lot of water to do that step. I have had somebody mention that to me as well. So you do you and figure out the method that works best for you. Err on the side of caution if you are working with a red t-shirt or red thread, especially if you're using red thread on a white t-shirt. So even though there are color fast qualities and this and that, and Sulky thread really goes through all of these safeguards for things like color running, keep in mind, red is red. Red is dyed in a little bit different way from other colors. It is super saturated. That's why when we buy a red t-shirt, you never go and wash that the first time with a bunch of your white towels, because what's going to happen? All your white towels are now pink. It really doesn't matter how many times or how many processes that shirt went through. There is still going to be a little bit of dye left over. It's just really the nature of that red beast, okay? And the same applies with the thread as well. So with a red t-shirt, you want to make sure to pre-wash that, because you are going to be rinsing away thread and all these things when you're done embellishing your shirt. And you don't want that red t-shirt dye to seep into your beautiful thread work after all is said and done. When you're working with the red thread, you might want to grab up some of those color catchers that you can get at your big box stores and things like that. Throw one of those in your rinse and spin cycle so that any of dye left in the thread will go into that color catcher rather than onto your t-shirt. All right, so think about those things as well. Okay, so there we have our cute little class of 2032 t-shirt. Or you can also, of course, create the adorable little onesie or make this for a teacher, especially if it's their first year, or maybe it's their last year and they're going to retire. And then they could be the class of 2026. So think about different ways that you can personalize this project. Add embroidery combined with handwork, add applique combined with hand embroidery for some different looks. And of course you could do machine embroidery, all different types of personalizations for this project as well. All right, let's see. Anita says, I really like color catchers. They work really nicely. So Alexis is saying, will Sulky red threads run? Well, that's why I just want to bring it to your attention. They're not going to run every single time, and we really, really work hard to ensure that they don't, because we don't want you to have problems with any of our threads, of course. But I just wanted to make sure to bring it to your attention, because red is red is red. And just like a red t-shirt could run, but maybe won't. And maybe if you wash it in cold, it won't. There's so many different variables. The same can happen with really deep shades of sulky red cotton thread. And it's just the nature of the beast when you're dyeing things red or these really, really saturated, dark, deep red colors. So just keep that in mind, especially if you want to put like a 12 weight cotton burgundy red thread on a stark white t-shirt. You may need to take some safeguards into account when you're rinsing away that stabilizer. Do it in really cold water. Make sure it's running off of the fabric. And then when you go to dry your item, let's say your water's running clear after removing that stabilizer. When you go to dry your item, that thread could still have some water in it. And so even if things look really, really great, after it dries, some of that dye from the thread could go into your t-shirt. It is just the nature of the beast of red dyes, quite honestly. We've looked this up over and over again, and how can we, circumvent this? How can we make sure this doesn't happen? And quite honestly, it becomes the, I guess, responsibility of the crafter. I don't know how else to say it, to just make sure your thread is really, really dry. If you're doing something on something white, or you've used that rinse and spin cycle to really, dry it after you get rid of that stabilizer. Those color catchers can be great. Pre-washing things. So I hope that helps. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Lee is saying, where can I find the clear cutting mat, as I cannot find it on sulky.com? Great question. I think you may be able to search up, let me see here. You may be able to search up daylight or cutting mat. Let me see where to find it. I should make sure that we have it, because it is the Daylight brand. Oh, saying we only have 5 of each light box in stock right now. Maybe we do not have the cutting mats right now. I will try to troubleshoot that and get back to you. We may have just run out of stock, because I am noticing, oopsies, what happened? I am noticing that the actual light boxes are running really, really low in stock as well. So we can get back to you there, or you can contact customer care at sulky.com and we can help you with that. We may just be out of stock of them for now. Okay. Anita is just loving the onesie. I know onesies don't they just give you the warm feels? Every time I'm walking, like, let's say in Target or something, and I go by the little onesies, I just, oh my, love it. So cute. All right. Yep. Color catchers again for the win. Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope that's helpful for all of you. I hope that you're inspired to create some little applique and or hand embroidery projects, whether it's for back to school or maybe a different occasion. Would be really cute for a special birthday for a little one too, to personalize a t-shirt, maybe with their age or something like this. And it doesn't take a lot of time at all. It's really great to breathe new life into maybe an older t-shirt. Maybe you have a t-shirt that has a little stain, in a specific spot right up here, and you can add an applique to it and put some little embroidery stitches around it. And now you've got a new shirt for back to school that, you've gotten some more life out of. Love that. All right, perfect. Well, I hope that you enjoyed today. And again, our straps, handles, and key fobs sewing session is now available for viewing over at sewingonline.sulky.com. This is a completely self-guided lesson. It is not a live event, so you can head on over whenever it's convenient for you. As long as you are registered, you now have access to all of the videos, all of the text, all of the designs. Everything associated with this is now yours for the watching, yours for the taking. So head on over there and check things out and let me know how you like this session and what you would like to see more of. And I hope you enjoy all of your designs from embroiderydesigns.com. Not only can you use those for straps, handles, and key fobs, but you can also use them as borders on curtains, towels, things like this. So there's a lot of things you can do with this design collection that comes free with purchase of your session. So enjoy that and have a creative rest of your day, and I'll see you next Tuesday.